Welcome, geeks, to another exciting episode of Rockin' the Code World with .NET Dave. I am David McCarter. Happy holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating this holiday season. I couldn't find my holiday hat I wore last year, so I still have my Cheap Trick holiday sweater on. This is the only time I get to wear it. And then I also have my Microsoft MVP scarf, which I have a few of these, and I never wear these either because I live in San Diego, and you don't need a scarf in San Diego, but it's fun to wear for the Christmas show. So welcome. I'm glad you're all here. I was thinking this morning before the show that I don't even know where this year went. This is the last show of the year. The holidays are wrapping up. 2021, and I don't even remember what happened for most of this year. Actually, the last 2 years, and I'm thinking that on New Year's Eve we should just go to 2020, right? Because the last 2 years have been a wash, and let's just start at 2020, and then I can be 2 years younger. Anyway, I'm glad you're all here. My special guest today is Mark Brown from Microsoft. He's lead in the Cosmos DB world. And so we're going to be learning about all the latest, greatest things that have been coming out from Cosmos DB. I really like Cosmos DB. I was thinking about this week also that, I hope a lot of people are watching this show because Mark's here because, I might be wrong, but, this is, to me, I feel like will be the future of, this will be a future of databases in the future, in the near future sometime. Relational databases, I think, are going to go away. Not away, but, be used less and less and more, towards Cosmos DB, which I really like because it's so much more flexible than using a very strict relational database. So anyway, so that's my thoughts on Cosmos DB. I really like it. So I'm glad Mark is here to finish out the year with us. So let's get to some beginning things. So in 37 days, it's the .NET Virtual Conference 2022. Please go there. I don't know, Simon, if they can register yet, but please go and put it on your calendar or get ready for it. I've already picked a lot of the sessions. I think Simon has released one of the speakers so far, and I think they're going to be trickling out between now and the conference. And but I hope you'll come. I've been working really hard on the schedule, and I just wanted to, I tweeted this, but I want to say it publicly that, at least on video, that I have a newfound respect for conference organizers. Well, I've always respected them, but the person or persons who actually have to come up with picking the sessions and then coming up with a schedule, because it's really hard. We've gotten over, I think we have over 110 submissions at this point, and we don't have near enough slots to fill everybody. I would love to have everybody just be in the conference, but unfortunately we just have a limited number of slots because it's 3 days. So so it's tough. I'm still picking some sessions. I'm down to a couple. I'm trying to guess what you guys want. So if you want to put it in the comments or tweet it at me what kind of sessions you want me to focus on for the .NET Virtual Conference, please do, because this conference we do for you, we don't do it for us. And I want to make sure that this conference is popular and it reaches as many people as the last conferences that C# Corner have done online. So it's virtual still, unfortunately, no in person yet. Currently, I'm not scheduled to speak anywhere in person, which I'm really bummed out about because I really want to get back at doing that. But anyway, make sure you put on your calendar for January 24th through 26th, the .NET Virtual Conference, and you can go to that URL. So, I just completed the next version of Spargene. It will be actually Spargene version 5, and I will be releasing it at the beginning of the year, probably on the 1st, because I'm done right now. I'm just doing some documentation and things like that. It's all compiled. I've done all the benchmarking for it. I've got some really cool new things in Spargene for this release, and usually, all this code comes from needs where I work usually, and so at work we needed to change all of the way we were hashing passwords to a more secure way. So that's all in there. I also put in some new things about compressing strings, lots of more extension methods. I've written more unit tests and benchmarking tests. So this will be the quarterly release on January 1st. So I hope you'll go to my website, go to spargene.net, and check out the current version and the new version. There are a couple breaking changes in the new version, but if you're new to Spargene, it probably won't affect you. So I hope you go check it out. I have a new article on C# Corner, collection performance. How do you link? There's basically 3 different ways of constructing a link query, and I take you through and show you the most performant way of doing it. There's only one way that's the most performant. So I hope you go check out that article on C# Corner to learn the proper way of doing link for performance reasons. All right. So I'd like to welcome Mark Brown back to the show. Mark Brown has been working. He's a 20-year Microsoft veteran. Oh, you've been working for Microsoft 20 years. Wow. And currently works on the Cosmos DB team and oversees all the developer outreach and community activities. Welcome back, Mark.
Hey there. How are you, Dave?
I can't talk. Well, I forgot to tell everybody that Simon's hiking right now. So he's actually hiking and producing the show at the same time. I'm impressed.
On a hiking trail.
Yeah, on a hiking trail in Nepal. So
that's got to be a first for a podcast producer.
I know. So don't fall, Simon, while you're hiking, and make sure you make it back, because I need you back for the beginning of the year and the conference and all that stuff. So
that's right. We all need you.
Yeah, but he's a 20-something. I don't think I could do that at this age.
No, not me. It's hard.
I can barely do one
off my
thing.
Couch.
I know. I like watching Netflix too much, I think. So how are you doing, Mark?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Been crazy. Another crazy COVID year. I can't wait for this to be over as well. I tried doing some events. I was scheduled to speak at NDC a few weeks ago, and about a week before the trip, realized I could not get into Norway. So I ended up doing that virtually, which is okay, but it's not the same. But I did go to Dev Intersection 2 weeks ago over in Vegas and did a in-person event there, which was, it felt good. It's just, I miss seeing friends. I miss the interaction. I miss, the networking. It's just, there's so much there that I just, virtually you just don't get it. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm also looking forward to hopefully events coming back. I've submitted for talks for next year. We'll just see what happens with Omicron and this whole business. But I for one, I'm so sick of virtual and just this whole business. So
I am too. I've always been an in-person speaker, and I've never liked virtual. And I've gotten used to it, but I still don't like it. And for the reasons, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, and that is what you just talked about, the networking and talking to people and getting ideas from people, and partying at night with people, and that's where the conference really happens. It doesn't happen in the session rooms. It happens outside of the session rooms.
Yeah, in fact, I was having drinks with someone, a friend of mine, and she was talking about some problems she's having with a customer of hers. And said, hey, can you help connect me with someone to help me figure out what's going on? And so, I said, yeah, sure. I said, I said, let's meet in the morning or later when we're not drinking, sitting in a bar having drinks. And then I can kind of clearly take notes and then go track down someone to help you. So that's the kind of stuff you can't do when it's virtual. Right. So anyway.
And the last couple of weeks, I've been thinking off and on about, how could we, because virtual is going to be around, I think, maybe not 100% for all the time, but I think for most of it, especially the bigger conferences are going to be, I think the bigger conferences will go to a more of a hybrid model.
Yeah.
And, but how do we bring that to the virtual world? And I just haven't come up with a really good answer for that yet about this networking. And, it's like you said, I've learned stuff by being at the big round table, eating lunch, in the big open room with people I don't even know, and just hearing something they're saying and going, oh, wait, I'm experiencing that at work. And, let's talk. I want to hear how you solve that, and you're right. We just don't get it virtually.
It's those unplanned interactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of akin to a water cooler chat, if you will.
Right.
Can't do that virtual. You can't.
No. So it's virtual is definitely a bit easier because I don't have to go anywhere, and I don't have to put on pants, and
I hope you're wearing pants now.
Yeah.
Christmas pants to go along with your sweater.
It's been kind of chilly. Well, earlier this week, it's been kind of chilly here in Southern California, and they've also reimposed the mask mandate here too, which kind of sucks. But
I know I've been, I got soccer little practicing games with my 5-year-old, and man, God, I was wearing like Seattle clothes going out there and standing out in the cold. And I'm like, what is this? I moved down here to be warm, not to freeze my butt off. But
that was really weird weather for San Diego. We don't get that very much, or Southern California, where it's really cold and it was raining like crazy. I thought I was listening to my roof thinking that might blow off. It was blowing so hard. That's very rare for down here. We don't get that very much. That's why we live here. So we don't have to deal with all that stuff.
That's right. That's right.
So what's new and exciting in the Cosmos DB world?
So
I have a bunch of things here on the list, but
we had Ignite. I guess about a month ago now. Let me see. Was that a month ago? Yeah, it's just over a month actually. And we released a whole bunch of stuff, and I'd just like to get you all caught up on some new good stuff that we did, and just kind of show it off to you.
Yep.
Before
that, I want to say hi to Mahesh, who runs C# Corner. He's here watching, it looks like, and he likes your background light. I think he likes your Cosmos DB light on the TV.
Yep, I got my Cosmos logo spinning there, and then my service award crystals. I got a 10, a 15, and a 20-year crystal there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And welcome, Ganesh. And any of you have questions, I'm kind of gonna have to remind you because Simon's hiking. So if you have questions, make sure you put in a comment, and we'll see it within a minute or so or less, and we'll try to get to your questions at Cosmos DB, because this is the guy to ask. If you want to know about Cosmos DB, you're looking into using a document-based database, this is the guy to ask. So make sure you ask your questions.
Here to help. Also on Twitter as well. You can hit me at Mark J. Brown, or just tweet at AzureCosmosDB.com. I always have Twitter open, keeping an eye on there. So if you ever have questions,
I
help people all the time. They're like, "Hey, Cosmos, I can't figure this out," and then try to help them.
You helped me out.
And I did it on Twitter too, didn't I?
I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of bummed
at some point, but it's all right.
I'm not. This is a holiday show. We keep talking about stuff we're bummed about, but I'm kind of bummed about no MVP summit next year either.
Virtual.
Yeah.
So I was talking to some folks a couple weeks ago, some MVPs, and I'm like, why don't you just all go get a hotel room in Bellevue and then go rent out a conference room or something, put up a big screen, and then just all sit there and watch it. It'd be like it'll be like a real MVP summit, just virtual kind of.
I might do that. The one thing I did tweet to the MVP program going, I said, since we haven't had a summit in 2 years, and I know you've saved a lot of money, why don't you buy us all surfaces? right?
There you go. Right.
Wouldn't that be nice if they
Yeah.
bought all the Microsoft MVP's brand new services with 32 gigs of memory?
Yeah.
That because where's all the money going?
I don't know, but
Who knows?
our stock price is doing pretty good, so maybe it's
Maybe
hitting our
that's
bottom
it.
line. So yeah, yeah.
I'm sure they're liking saving the money. But anyway, let's get back to Cosmos TV.
Okay. Well, good way of saying saving on money, because well, let me kind of go through some of the stuff. So one of the first things is we released this thing we're calling throughput spending limits, and this is part of a kind of a cost management thing within Azure itself. But one of the things we released free tier, I guess about a year ago, maybe a little longer. I can't remember, COVID, whatever. But we've had this free tier where you could get, initially 400 RU for free. Now it's 1,000 RU per second free, which is great for doing like dev test. You just want to kick the tires, and you get one free Cosmos account per Azure subscription. And after we released that, people were pretty excited. But then quickly afterwards, people were like, "Hey, how come I got a bill from you guys? I thought this thing was supposed to be free." And the reason is because the way it worked is that you got your first 1,000 RU for free, and then it would bill over on top of that.
Right.
And people weren't keeping an eye on what they were scaled to. They might have been using, say, auto scale, and then hammering the account or their containers, and then it would scale up and then go over that free amount. Or they had put a bunch of data in there, and we'll just keep happily ingesting data, right? Scale out. So you can just keep putting more data in there, and it would bill for that. Or there's a minimum RU per GB amount in there, and they would sometimes ingest a ton of data, and you'd have to add more throughput, and the system would service would do it automatically. So they might get billed for that. So long story short, people were kind of frustrated because they wanted a free tier, and obviously wanted it to stay free. So we made this thing called throughput spending limits, and let me kind of show you here if you want to show my screen here.
Yeah, Simon, can you do that?
Oh, there we go,
man.
So
really good,
here
Simon,
I got
hiking, and
I know it's just keep your eyes on the trail there, Simon. So here I've got a little Cosmos account here, and I'm using shared database scale throughput here, and I'm using a minimum throughput, so 400. So I can go into cost management blade here, and you can see here's my current. So this thing will tell you how much you're currently using, right? And the throughput mode, so manual, right? So I've got database and then manual, 400 throughput, and then all the containers or collections beneath it that are sharing that. Now I'm not using any limit on here now, but let's go ahead and just set that. And let's just say I want my new minimum to be 1,000. Okay, and then I'm going to save that here. So let's just pretend this is going to be a free account here. So that's going to update my total throughput limit on there.
Because the free account goes to 1,000 RUs, right?
What's that?
The free account goes to 1,000 RUs.
That's right. So you would get that for free. So if you were, say, provisioning a free account, there's an option in there to go and set the throughput limit on there. And so if you were doing a free account, go ahead and set this to 1,000 RU, and that will guarantee that you keep that 1,000 RU. You will not go over it. So let me go back into Data Explorer here now, and click on the scale thing here. And now let me try to. I'll just set this. Now you can see, right? Won't even let me save because it's going to say, sorry, but you got a throughput limit, so cannot do it in there.
Well, that's good. That's great, actually.
Yeah. So that's help you prevent. And by the way, this also works if like you're using the SDK, because people will offer updates or throughput changes using the SDK or ARM template or PowerShell, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's not just Portal. It's anything that tries to update it. It's going to throw this exception and say, sorry, can't update, can't change your throughput there.
That's great. Yeah. We do have a question. So Ganesh asked, which approach is good according to you, code first or database first or model first?
I'm guessing he's talking about like using Entity Framework or something.
Oh, the porn spammer is back. Cut it out, love face. There you go.
Okay, I'm not watching.
I keep
it.
joking. I keep joking. I'm so popular now that I get porn spam. On my show.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
It's been
going to
happening.
consider myself lucky that I'm not getting that on my show yet. So
anyway, so yeah, that's a good question. I know what I prefer, Ganesh, but yeah, let's hear from Mark.
So what you're asking there does not really apply in a NoSQL world.
Sure. Yeah.
You mean you're going to write your code, but there's no you're going to write your code first, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, me too.
But when you're modeling your data, the way you model and store that data and partition it is derived by how you access the data, right? You want to store your data such that you can serve it in as few requests as possible. So you need to have your code there, but more importantly, you need to understand the characteristics of your workload such that you understand the access patterns for that data within there. That's going to, the relationships between the entities you have in there matter to some extent, but what's more important is how you access that data and how frequently you access it. Because like I said, in a database world, you want to normalize data. You want to optimize for storage.
Right.
In a NoSQL world, that doesn't matter, right? You're optimizing for the compute or the request itself,
right?
In there. So, so I understand kind of the question, but it's coming from like an ORM perspective, and ORMs don't really make sense for a database like Cosmos. They make sense for relational databases, but not so much for us.
But any framework does work with Cosmos DB.
It does, and it's getting much better. I had Jeremy Lickness on my show a few weeks ago, and we went over all the EF6 updates. They do an annual release, and it's basically time for kind of .NET Conf. So I had him on about a week after .NET Conf, and we went through all the updates in there. And they do a great job. I like it. They develop up in the open, right? So it's basically they stack rank their issues list in there, and the items that get the top votes, those are the things that they go and do in there, and they do a great job. I mean, the Cosmos provider gets better and better every release in there. So yeah, go watch my show. You can see all the new stuff they did in there. They're making it. It's it's great.
But you don't need any of the framework. Because when I started using Cosmos DB, it was long before any framework supported it. So I just got used to using Cosmos DB the way it is now. And it doesn't, it's like you were saying, it's a difference between a relational database and a document database. You kind of have to change the way of thinking.
If you think about why ORMs exist, the need doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense in a NoSQL world,
right?
In a document database world, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
So,
So,
all right.
Because the other big thing with costing, and then I'll say what Mahesh just said, and that is you need to make sure the right data is in the right container, right, in Cosmos DB, because it's not good to go across containers. Is that what you call them in Cosmos DB?
Your containers or collections.
Collections, right.
Look, there's no joins, right? We don't support any of those relational types of constraints. Your data is going to be sitting on a cluster of servers, so putting joins or enforcing constraints or putting locks on data across servers is just inherently a bad idea. If one of those servers goes down, your availability is completely shot. If there's some kind of glitch in the network connection between them, your latency may be bad or availability can be impacted. There's all kinds of things that are just not good from a performance perspective when you're putting distributed locks on data, right? I mean, just think about that for a minute. Putting a distributed lock across a cluster of servers for your data.
And that's
over
the one,
a WAN.
Yeah, and that's the one thing, I still kind of struggle with is, a lot of what we learned in the relational world kind of you have to throw it out, right? And you have to stop doing, this is in one container and this is in another container. We join them, like you were saying. You can do it, but it's very expensive operation, right?
Yeah, denormalize the data so that it's in the same container,
right.
And then you
have to denormalize everything, right?
You can fetch it in a single request, either as a point read, where you're grabbing a single document with all the data you need at once, or as a query where you're returning a bunch of different documents back,
right,
to use. So, yep,
yeah. So you're
different world.
Yeah, Ganesh, if you haven't used document-based databases, you're going to have a learning curve. Believe me, I'm still in a learning curve, and I've been using it for years now. And so just make sure you get some good books about just how document databases work, because you're going to have to relearn everything pretty much.
I gave
not everything, but a lot.
I started a virtual user group this summer, and we've had a few meetups. Our first one, I did a presentation. I give this talk a lot, actually, on how to model and partition data for Cosmos. It's absolutely critical. If you've never used a database like this, you should watch this. If you go to our YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Azure Cosmos DB. Just look for the playlist for our Cosmos user group, and then look for that video. It's the first one in there, and I talk about and I walk through. I actually take AdventureWorks database, 2017 database, and I walk through remodeling it for Cosmos. So it's very cool, because everybody knows that database, right?
Yeah.
And so you're not starting from scratch in terms of, I don't know what these tables do. Everybody knows that database. Everybody's used it, so it's a good place to start, to say, okay, I know what this thing does in a relational world. Now, how would I remodel this thing such that it can scale infinitely? I mean, that's the whole point of a NoSQL database, is if you scale out, theoretically, you have infinite scale. You just keep adding servers, right? Whereas in a relational world, you're kind of capped at like the max size of a VM and the max size of storage, which I think is about 4 terabytes for an uncharted relational database. So that's the whole point. And not only that, you can grow to infinite size, but also maintain very low latency, because your data is stored on these different partitions, right? Which is why you have these things called partition key in there, because that's essentially an address to what server is my data stored on. So go watch that. Go find it.
Yeah, I'm going to go watch it now.
Or hit me up on Twitter, and I can give you a link to it later. So, all right, let's talk about, Paul. I've talked about partitioning. Something I want to talk about next that we released is we did this thing called custom partitioning for our Synapse Link piece. If you're not familiar, so Synapse Link is our analytical store, essentially, and it provides HTAP, which is like a hybrid transactional analytical processing capability to Cosmos. Now, this is great because Cosmos is an operational data store, right? We're really built for kind of high volume transactions and stuff like that. You can't run big, fat, heavy analytical queries on top of a database like Cosmos. It's just not that type of database.
Right.
So we released this Azure Synapse Link capability where we automatically will ETL that data from Cosmos, which is a row store, into a column store format, right? And then you can use either SQL Serverless or Spark via Azure Synapse to then run analytical queries on top of your data. Now,
that's cool.
It is a very cool capability, right? And by the way, once it's in Synapse, you can do stuff like do machine learning and train models on your data. You can do dashboarding through Power BI. You can do any of the things that Synapse can give you is now available to you through this Synapse Link capability. And so, but one of the things that we realized is that customers, you have to partition data in a database like Cosmos, right? It's the only way you can grow and scale. What we were finding is that sometimes customers were ingesting data, like, say, I'll give you an example, like IoT data, where they were partitioned by, say, device ID, because they want to have an even spread of the data as it's writing to all the partitions. And that's a typical partition key to use, is like, let's say, a device ID, because you got like every device and like every second it's sending a little packet saying, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. But you would never query or do analytics by device ID, right? So the queries themselves would always be cross-partition. They would often do it by, by either tenant ID or often by date, right? That's another typical one as well. And so what they found is that they were getting kind of very inefficient queries because of the way the data was being written to the column store. We needed a way to be able to repartition that data. So that's what this capability allows you to define custom partitioning and repartition that data and store it using a different partition for your workload in there. And so you can do things like do pruning on your partition, so you can make smaller, more compacted column store storage, so it makes your queries more efficient. But it allows you to do queries that are more efficient themselves because the data is going to be partitioned in a way that makes more sense. So this is just a blog, and I think you got a link to our blog on here. But this blog post here kind of walks through all of that in there. Another thing as well is we've also now got the ability for Azure Synapse Link to work on our new serverless accounts as well. So that was another thing we did. I guess that was last year as well, is we now have serverless capability in there as well. So that's great. You're only paying for what you use rather than the provision model where you're paying based upon how much you provision within there. So now customers can use Cosmos in a serverless manner and then use Synapse Link in there. So that's kind of the latest on our Synapse stuff in there, and much more in here as well, by the way. Go and just check out this blog post, a whole ton of stuff. And if you haven't looked at Synapse Link, definitely go and check it out. This may be an option for many people who have these operational workloads and they want to have kind of a seamless way of doing analytics on it, and they don't want to have to build, or they want to get out from having to do all the ETL work. That's a lot of work, right? Building all these ETL jobs and the pipelines and all that stuff in there. This is very easy and seamless within there.
Great.
Yeah.
I do want to make sure I say what Mahesh is commenting on. It would be cool if Azure can send a forecasted estimate before they send you your bill, especially for the first time users who signed up for a free account. No one likes a surprise bill. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, it would be nice if we got like reminders. Hey, you're almost out of RUs, or you're, whatever, before they start billing you.
Yeah, we don't have anything like that, but we do have something else that may be helpful, which is we have a cost recommendation thing that shows up in Azure Advisor now. So this is something we've been working on for at least 2 years, I think. But we've now got the ability to kind of run some heuristics on your workload and monitor your usage, and then make recommendations on your throughput, whether you should use, say, autoscale for some containers, or use manual, or what have you in there. So again, it's another way we're trying to, in addition to kind of the throughput cap, in addition to serverless, in addition to autoscale, now having this thing show up in Azure recommendations, just another way we're trying to help you save money and just be efficient in there. So, but yeah, Mahesh, we'll look at the.
I know you're probably always working on costing stuff.
We always are, right? We want to make sure people are being efficient with their usage, right? Which is also another reason why I go and I give so many talks about how to model and partition data, because it's the only way you can achieve kind of that ultimate scalability with high efficiency, right? And that's kind of the promise with a NoSQL database is, look, I can grow to infinite size, and I can be hyper efficient with the throughput that I'm using in there. And that's kind of the goal for that. And maintain low latency, by the way, too, right? Yeah. So that's kind of the whole promise of a database like ours in there.
Yeah. A lot of that stuff we struggled with relational databases completely goes away with, document-based databases systems. And so it's, what was I going to ask? Everybody, don't forget to ask questions. Mark's the man on Cosmos DB, so make sure you ask while he's here. And also, I apologize for the spamming going on in my comments, but Simon does the best he can. As soon as those come up, he blocks them. But I'm not sure if there's a way to get around that.
Remove them.
Yeah, I don't think you can remove them because it's part of the recording now, right? So, I don't know, but I apologize for that. It's not our doing, of course. It's
feature request for StreamYard.
Yeah, StreamYard. cut out the spamming. Come on.
At least take it out of the comments.
Yeah, at least allow us to disable them completely.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, delete them completely. Yeah. All right. So what else is new?
Let me show you something else new. So we just announced a preview for a new connector for Logic Apps Standard. Now this is there's two flavors of Logic Apps. You have the consumption mode, and then you have the standard, kind of the provision mode here. And we've got brand new connector in there, built with our .NET version 3 SDK. I don't have anything built in here, but I can show you kind of some stuff in here.
I'm glad you have them, because I think when I was first looking into Logic Apps, there wasn't a connector to Cosmos DB. I'm going, oh man, yeah, that sucks. But now you have them, so that's
now
good.
We got it. So basically, so I've got a new action here, or trigger, when an item is created or modified, and this thing is set to you just set the database and then the monitored container, and then you can select your leases container, right? Like if you're familiar with our change feed, the way that works is you have one container you're going to monitor for changes in there, and then you have this thing called a leases container. That's basically kind of keeping a checkpoint for where am I, right? So when change feed goes and checks to say, hey, if I got anything new going on in here, that leases container contains the IDs of all the things that have changed since the last time. And it says, yep, here's some, and it gives them to you. And then you go and then process those. They come through to you in a like a IEnumerable or read-only collection format. And then you can deserialize that, loop through those, process whatever changes you want to do with them, and then go again, right? So
that's cool.
So this is kind of the same thing in here. So we got lease container and then an option to create it if it doesn't exist in there. And then I can go and I've got all of these actions in here. So I'm going to add an action, and then I can select from the Cosmos DB one in here. And here's all these different actions now I can select in here. So I can create or update an item in here, right? So let's say what's kind of a frequent pattern with Cosmos is I may store master data in a separate container, but then you often want to denormalize data in Cosmos when you model it, because remember, I want to serve that data in as few requests as possible. So I wouldn't have like like IDs, foreign keys in a container. I might have that, and also the name of the data itself, like say product category. Like if I had a product container in like AdventureWorks, it only has the product category ID in there, and then you have to join it in your query to get the category name back. With Cosmos, you wouldn't do that. You would basically denormalize and put the product category name with the ID in the product container. So let's say I wanted to rename a category. I would use change feed to say, okay, I want to propagate that name change from my product category container to all the products in the product container. And so
that's how you get rid of the relational data, right? That we don't do anymore, right? Is by using.
So you still have to maintain referential integrity, right? Like
sure.
These concepts still exist in a NoSQL world, but you enforce them in different ways, right? So like you would have a trigger that would enforce that constraint in a relational database.
Right.
We don't have those types. I mean, we do have triggers, but they're not.
We do have triggers. Yeah.
They're not the same.
So this would take the place of like writing a microservice, right? If you wanted to write a microservice just to update data or something like that, you can just do it through Logic Apps now.
Yeah, I mean, Logic Apps itself is really all about building event-driven apps and doing it in a low-code or no-code way, right? That's exactly what this whole thing is for. And with this Logic Apps Standard now, with their kind of provision model here, you can really build like high-performance event-driven apps with this, right? And you can do it in a very easy way. So you can, in here you've got these actions. You can create or update an item. So I can like select this, and then again, you're going to put the name of your database, the container in here, and then the item to be created in there, and then is a value for upsert. It has these things in here. So you have this content. That's the actual item itself that's coming in, and also ID, the E tag, the timestamp. So it's got all these kind of little built-in things to make it easier to do this sort of stuff. Others in here I can show you quickly. So I can do bulk in here, and all that does is it just turns on the enable bulk flag for the Cosmos connection object in there. I can delete an item in here. I can query items, read items.
Wow.
So this is very, very cool and meant to be, a way to build kind of these low-code, event-driven apps using Cosmos. And Cosmos, with its change feed, is ideally suited for that type of thing. And people use Cosmos because it has a change feed and can enable users to build these kind of event-driven applications. So again, this is a new option here. This is great. I love this within there. So
I like this too. There's a product idea that one of my friends has, and he approached me to be more the architect of it, and he's more the business guy. And if you're watching, Rod, pay attention. But one of the things I was telling him is because it's new and we don't have any money, I was going to try to use things to get it there as quick as possible. And I was thinking about Logic Apps, Power Apps, Cosmos DB, and we could definitely, between all that orchestration, we could definitely do an app like we were talking about just by using these things and doing very little code, actually. So that's great. That's I don't know if we're going to end up doing that. He's got to get some more people interested in it, but yeah, that's and that's, I was talking to somebody recently about Microsoft, and different frameworks, and when you work at a company where you have all these different things and they don't really work well together, all we do is struggle to try to get them to work together. And that's one of the things I liked about the Microsoft ecosystem is that everything works together. I mean, maybe not perfectly because no one's perfect, but at least it's there. And especially in Azure, you can just connect these things and easily get things running with little friction, I think, than using, this from AWS and this from Microsoft and this from some other company and, doing that kind of thing. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's we have all these first party services. I mean, the goal for that is that we all, it's my office mate. Hello.
This was pumping down.
Oh yeah, you want me to pump up your ball here?
I can't make it.
Okay, I'm gonna pump up his basketball.
That's what dads are for.
That's what we're for. We're gonna
fixing stuff.
He plays basketball downstairs when I got games on and stuff. So there we go. All set. Okay.
Bye.
You want that? Yeah. So it's the objective is all these services tie very well together, right? Like we have good integration into Azure Functions within Cosmos, within Azure Search, Azure within the networking components there. That's really kind of what you want, is to make that as seamless as possible, because it's you need to tie all these things together, and people don't want to spend time doing all that work. We can do it as a cloud provider and make that very easy for folks so they can focus on the stuff they need to focus on rather than having to write a bunch of glue code because things can get very fragile when you have to do that type of thing. So,
and that's one thing that I've been saying for, I would say, at least 20 years is, my job is just gluing stuff together. I mean, it's understanding the business requirements and then gluing it together. That's my job, right? And now we're finally at a point where I think the stuff is finally working well together now that we have the cloud and we have these cloud systems, and it's finally coming around that, we've been waiting for something like this for a long time because because businesses want this faster and faster. And, for us to code things to make that happen takes a long time. Right. Yeah. And if we can just do a little bit of code maybe, and then more of what you were just showing with Logic Apps, that gets us there faster. And because it makes the customers happy, which makes more money for the company, right? It's all the win-win, I think, to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And with things like Logic Apps, I mean, they've got so many connectors in there. It just makes doing all that so much smoother and easier.
Yeah, because Logic Apps can talk to pretty much anything. Last time I looked,
pretty much anything.
It's pretty crazy. It's and that's why. Yeah, never mind. I don't want to go into my spiel about other frameworks. Anybody have any more questions before we run out of time?
I got more stuff to show.
Oh yeah, let's talk about more stuff.
All right.
I was just making sure I said it because people can ask questions.
I got more stuff. I got 4 more things I want to show you. Very cool stuff. So another thing we announced at Ignite was this thing called indexing metrics. Customers, when you're building solutions and apps in Cosmos, one of the optimizations you want to do is you want to tune your indexing policies.
Mhm.
We by default index everything, and that can get kind of expensive if you've got a high write kind of workload. So we always say, hey, you should exclude properties that you never query by. And often customers will say, I'm not quite sure what all of the queries I'm getting, because I'm getting kind of free text queries sent at me by customers. Maybe I'm building a SaaS app or something like that. So we built this thing called indexing metrics. And so what it does is it's for every query, we show, okay, here's the indexes you're using, and here are indexes you should use in there. And so let me just show you this if you want to pop my screen back up.
That reminds me of the query plan stuff, with Select SQL Server.
Yeah, well, we have query plans as well. Like if you go into the portal, we can show you that you can see the RU costs on there, so that you can get you can see what indexes are hit, the time spent on the index, how many documents are returned, all that stuff. So we don't. It's not a plan, I guess, but it's a bunch of stats,
right?
Essentially in here. But these are metrics that are specific around the queries and being used. So here, I've got a little app here. Let me just fire this guy up, and I've got a new Cosmos client here. I'm going to get a link to my container. I have a customer ID here. This is hitting my Cosmic Works thing that I was talking about earlier when I do that modeling. I call it Cosmic Works. It's actually AdventureWorks, but for Cosmos. And here I've got a little query I'm going to define. So this is select star from C, where C.type equals at type, and customer ID equals at customer ID. What I've got is I've got a collection here that I'm mixing entities. I've got a mix of customers and sales orders, and I'm storing them in the same container. And so I wanted to be able to distinguish those. I have this property for each document in there, and I call it type. And I use a string, either a customer value or a order value. So I can distinguish between those type. And here I'm going to get a customer out of this collection. So I'm going to pass in this value to customer here. And then I have another customer ID. So, and then I'm going to run this. And now if I want to get the indexing metrics in my query request options, I'm going to set that value and make it true. And then when they come back out, I'm going to get that out of the response object. And then I'm just going to write that out. So let me run this query here. And I've got my little app here. Okay. And then let me just write that out to the console. And where did my little app go? There you are. And here you can see indexing utilization information. So utilized single indexes, and you can see it used customer ID. So I have an index on customer ID, a single index, and the impact score on that is high. So that's a good thing that I'm using it because it's in there. And then it has recommendations for potential single indexes.
Oh,
and it's saying
do it on type. Yeah.
It says, hey, you could use an index on type in here, and the impact of using that is quite high. And then it also does the same thing for composite indexes. That's another type of index we have. It's very helpful if you have, say, queries where you have order buys in there, multiple property order buys in there. So that's another one that's another one we'll give stuff to. So let's see what's going on there. Let me go into my portal.
That's pretty cool. It tells you right there with the results.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so here I am in my Cosmic Works database, and here's my customer container here. And let me go look at settings and my indexing policy. Oh, and you can see I've stupidly excluded the type property in here for the purposes of demo,
right.
If you will. So let's go ahead and just remove that from excluded paths in there. And let's see. Look, it's nice. We give you a % complete now. We used to never really tell you. Now it's 22% complete. It should be done. Okay, now it's done. All right, now let's go back to my app here, and we'll just try that again. All right, and then let's just run that. Okay, and let's F11 that line there. And now utilized single indexes. I have type in there along with customer ID. Okay, so now it shows, okay, that's good. These are the indexes we used in your query and the potential impact of those within there. You can see. So I've got no potential single indexes that I should use to make that query perform better.
Wow.
So that's indexing metrics in kind of a nutshell there.
Well, that sure helps us out who don't quite understand the indexing with Cosmos DB like myself. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Jim Miller's asking a bunch of questions. I'd like to get to at least one of them before we have to go because we're running short on time, Jim. When can we expect a full fidelity change feed? Features sound very promising. It's been in preview for a long time.
Yep. We are working on that. It's very close. I expect early in the next year here. Hopefully we'll have something to say about that. So yeah, stay tuned. We are working on it. It's taken longer than we thought. It's definitely been like a couple of years.
And he said that you can only you cannot update more than 10 documents with a partial document update.
I believe that's correct. I was going to show you partial document updates as well.
Okay, let's look at that real quick, and then
I think it's more than I think it's more than 10 though. I think it's 100 because you can use it with transactional batch, and transactional batch has a max document update of 100 within there. So
I keep forgetting to ask you, what is the current document size limitation in Cosmos?
2 megabytes.
2 megabytes. Okay.
Maximum size. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me show you patch. So here I've got another function here, and I've got a new document I'm going to create, and I'm partitioned by ID in here. So I've got ID of email address is going to be my ID, and then some data in here. So let me go and I'm going to create that. Here I'm going to call create item async. Oh, that's not good. I don't know what happened.
It was taking a while. I was going, oh, you got to go. Yeah, got to go one more. Yeah.
Not found. Oh, the owner resource doesn't exist. All right. Well, I screwed that up. Let me just show you here then.
Yeah.
So go and create a document and then read that document back, right? With the passing in the customer ID and the partition key, which is also ID. And then I can do what's these patch operations within here. And so you can do things like add a new property. So like in my initial document, I didn't have a state in here, right? I just had the address, city, zip. So I can add a new property and then patch the document with that. I can update the phone number, right? So that's the set. And then another cool one is increment. So I can basically increment integer values within my documents here. So here in my...
So patching is like just updating one or two properties and not the whole thing.
That's correct.
It's because you were talking earlier about the costing of that.
So here's the thing is this isn't going to save you money in terms of RUs. I know that's kind of why people, at least on our user voice, were asking for it, because they had really large documents. And when you do an update in Cosmos, it replaces the entire document. So you have to send the whole thing back. This function will not save you a much RU on there. In fact, I don't think it'll save you any because we still have to merge the document in the backend, and that still takes throughput to do it.
Yeah.
Where this can help is it reduces the payload necessary to do that. So you can save at least compute on the SDK host within there, and also over the network, because your payload is going to be smaller in there. And you can do interesting things in here. And also the other thing it can save you throughput on is if you fail concurrency checks, you don't have to go and refetch and then do the merge and then resend in there, right? So if you're checking concurrency, you don't have to deal with patch. You don't need to deal with that. If you're setting other properties that are within there. So
I like this.
This is very cool, I think, and it's like a way of getting kind of like doing conflict resolution for a single region, if you will, right? Because we can basically merge that content. If you have other properties that are being updated with high concurrency, then that's fine. You don't have to deal with constantly failing concurrency checks. As long as you're setting different properties, we can do this. And also you get that increment property, which is cool as well. because normally you would have to read that and then just whatever, put that into a variable and then that variable plus, and then do an update back on that. Here you can just set increment, the property or the path of the property, and then the value you want to increment it by.
That's cool because one thing I've been teaching ever since I've been teaching is that you don't go across the wire unless you have to, and you make sure your payloads are small, because no matter how much you optimize on the client end or the server end, the biggest performance issue is still the internet, right? And you want to reduce that, and so this is a way of completely reducing that, because now you're just sending over a property or two, and that's it. You're not sending over the whole big document. If you have something big, a megabyte, that's a lot.
You should definitely, when you're modeling your data, RU cost goes up kind of logarithmically. I can't say it. It goes up like a hockey stick the larger the document gets. You want to keep your documents small. Another thing I'll say too is, if you have large documents and you have kind of an asymmetric access or update patterns to them, like I have a large document, but I only update a small number of properties, and I do that with high volume, you should shred that document into two, right? Because you're updating a massive document, but you're only updating frequently small number of properties. Make it into two documents. That way, the cost of the update is going to be smaller. Your payloads are smaller too, right? Rather than saying the whole thing, even if you're using patch. So
that's great. And Jim, I'm sorry we can't get to your last question. Please feel free to tweet Mark and his handles right there, or go watch his user group meeting, which I'm definitely going to check out, the one where you go over VentureWorks after the show, because we only have like 3 minutes left, and I'm sure Simon wants to get back to hiking. So I don't want him hurting himself while he's doing a show. I don't want to get a bill for a broken leg, Simon. So I'm trying to wrap this up. So anyway, Mark, I'm really glad you came back on the show. It's great to see you again. I can't wait to see you in person someday. I don't know when that will be, but now that you're in Southern California, whenever you're down my way, please let me know. We can go hang out. And
that sounds good. Yeah, I like getting down in North County, so I got lots of friends down there too. So
I live in Del Mar, so I've got. There's a really cool Mexican restaurant I really like that's newer in Del Mar. We can go check out next time you're here. They have really good mole. Well, affordable mole, I guess.
That sounds great. I love Del Mar.
So okay. Well, thanks a lot. Have a great holiday season. I hope your kids have a great holiday season, and maybe we'll see you back on the show next year.
You bet. All right. Say bye-bye, Liam.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye, Liam. Well, that was fun to have our little guest in the background, Liam. It's actually my nephew's name, Liam. Mark, if you're still on. So that's cool. Anyway, let's get this so Simon can get back to hiking. So I have a new page on my on my blogs all about code performance. So basically what I've been doing is I've been taking everything and more from my code performance book and sticking it there. So if you want to go check that out, I hope you do. I need more subscribers. And everybody wins, of course, a copy of DevExpress a copy of DevExpress, a copy of CodeRush from DevExpress just by watching the show. Go to devexpress.com/DonnaDave. You get a real copy of my favorite refactoring tool that I use all the time, and especially when I'm reviewing code and fixing other people's spaghetti code. CodeRush is just a lifesaver to me. So make sure you go check it out. If you do, let me know how you like it. Also, I want to plug my coding standards book based on code I've been seeing these days. There needs to be more coding standards enforced at companies, and I just don't see that. So if you want to start out with good coding standards, of course, because I've had this book since 2005, please check out my coding standards book only on Amazon. You can go pick it up there. I think you can buy it in Australia now. They must have a printing center down there. So go check out my book. I'd appreciate it. Goes into my retirement fund. Also, really quick, I have a new GoFundMe for the Voice of Slum in India. And if I reach my goal by the end of this month, I will cut off all my hair. So, but I need a lot more people putting in some money. And if everybody watching the show right now just did $1, we'd be at my goal, and I would cut off my hair live on a video early next year. So, but beyond that, the kids there really need your help, even whether you want me to cut off my hair or not. They really need your help. And so I hope you will go support the Voice of Slum, because I visited there and they do need your help. The kids really need your help. So, and with that, it's the end of 2021 for me, for the show. The next show is TBD. I'm working on some really great guests. Please be safe. Listen to your medical professionals about COVID-19. I know we have a new variant that's cropping up. Some countries are shutting down. I mentioned earlier that California is back on a mask mandate, which I don't like, but we got to do our part. So make sure you listen to your medical professionals. Do what they say, and because we want you back here next year watching Rockin' the Code World done at Dave. With that, because I am getting ready for next year with guests and subjects and things like that, please grant me my Christmas wish and send me an email and let me know what you want to hear, who you want me to invite on the show, what topics you want me to cover. If you want me to do a panel show on a specific topic, please let me know. All you need to do is either tweet at me or email me at rockandcodeworld@csharpcorner.com. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful, safe holiday season. Have fun with your family. Have fun with your loved ones. And I'll see you back in 2022. Thanks.